another Wednesday, which means it is another episode of Spill the Ink, and I am so excited to be your host this week, Kimmi Ann, brought to you by the amazing VallRell Events. And this week, we are going to get a little hot and heavy with our author, K Elle Morrison, who has written such series like Prince of Sin, The Black Banners, and there is a new book on the horizon. Now, before I get too much into it, let's go ahead and kick it over to our author of the week and see what is this Prince of Sin series that is really good, you guys. I highly recommend checking it out. Tell us a little bit more of what the series is as a whole and what we can expect in the new book dropping this month.
So I am K Elle Morrison, and I am dropping my fourth book in the series, which is Prince of Pride. And we actually know this character, the Prince of Pride Ipos. We know him from the full-length novel Blood on My Name. And what we kind of can expect is some chasing, some sexy banter, and a deal with a witch. Yeah.
Treat.
And Lucifer has a little bit of an appearance in there too. We get to see Lucifer a little bit more.
Now, for those who aren't aware, I'm sure you can get from a little bit of the title that the Prince of Sin series follows the 7 deadly sins. And the first book is Prince of Lust, which automatically grabbed my attention within the first sentence. Like, I was so happy that I was reading this like in a corner somewhere because I'm sure my whole face had turned red. Now, you are turning these out really quickly. With your last book, I think book 3 was launched in July of this year.
Yes.
How are you getting them out so fast?
Spite. I'm pretty sure it's spite. I'm not actually 100%. I don't know. I kind of black out and then all of a sudden a book is written.
That's a great process.
But yeah, so I am rapid releasing the series. The first one, Prince of Lust, came out, I believe, in May. And then we've had Prince of Greed in June, Prince of Sloth in July. I took August off to catch up and catch my breath, but I actually didn't do any resting or breath catching. I was getting Prince of Pride ready. He is ready. He's just waiting for his debut on the 25th, actually. Prince of Gluttony will be released in October, and then Envy in November, and we'll wrap the series up with Wrath in December.
Now, how are you feeling with getting close to the end? Because this will be the first complete series, correct?
I know it's getting close, and I'm very excited. But I'm also really kind of sad to close this chapter because rapid releasing has been such a fun experience.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the rapid releasing. So your other book, which is the Black Banner series, that's almost double the pages of what the Prince of Sin book is. Do you find it's easier to rapid release with the more novella style books? Is it kind of like a nice refresher in between the Black Banners?
So I wrote the Black Banners first, and actually I've taken a hiatus on writing that series. There's only one book left, but I actually took a break so that I could write Blood on My Name, and Blood on My Name sparked the Princess of Sin series. We meet Sitri and Ezekiel and Ipos in Blood on My Name, and so I basically just could not get Sitri out of my head. He had totally taken over my life, and so instead of writing and finishing the last of the Banners books, I decided I'm going to write these novellas. And they are novella length, like you mentioned. They are about 25,000 words each and equals that to about 160 pages. And I really wanted to just be able to hand over whole stories that felt like full novels, but were very quick. So people could binge the entire series or just pick one that they liked. They're all sort of interconnected and you get a whole bigger story if you read them. But some of them, I mean, for the most part, you're not going to really get spoilers. which is really nice. And that was kind of the draw to writing a series like this, was that I wanted people to find their favorite prince and claim him for their own. And so, yeah, it's been nice being able to write a shorter fiction faster. And I am actually going to miss this process a lot because, 25K for most writers is very easy. They think 25K, that's nothing. But I'm actually a much slower writer. I tend to take a couple months to write that much, with everything else that goes into, edits and publishing and stuff like that. So it's nice to not have to worry about an entire, 90 to 100K piece when I can just do 7 25K pieces.
Now, I didn't realize until after I started book 1 in the Prince of Sin series was Blood on My Name. I know in the description of the book, it says it is connected, but I wasn't sure how it was connected. So would you recommend reading Blood on My Name first before getting into the Prince of Sin series? Because it kind of does set that up a little bit more for book 1.
So I like to think that Blood on My Name sets the tone for the series as like the magic system, or the world building.
Okay.
I've done the work for you in Blood on My Name, but I've had many people just not read Blood on My Name at all, and they dive into Lust, and they don't feel like they're missing anything because it is a very, like, it's in our real world. It feels very like Netflix Lucifer. It feels very dogma.
It really does.
Right?
The minute you're introduced to the club, I was like,
I know where we are.
Nothing screams weekend like tequila and scantily clad women. And tequila. Cheers.
It's Wednesday.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, so I don't necessarily think that you have to read Blood on My Name, because they're different in a lot of ways. This series is much shorter. It's very much based around the love interests in those in those stories. And it's they're very self-contained. You don't actually have to know a lot about what happened in Blood on My Name to know what's going on, because they don't affect each other. The characters that I've introduced in Blood on My Name are, strung through the Seven Deadly Sins series, but they're not directly impacted. The one thing that you kind of have to know is why Sitri is Sad Boy Sitri, and why we're so, why he deserved a book of his own. But yeah, and I think, I've had a lot of people say that they went back and read Blood on My Name and they really enjoyed it. But yeah, they weren't missing anything really.
What inspired we know that what inspired the series was Blood on My Name, but what inspired Blood on My Name?
A song that has the same title. So there's a song. I actually don't really like the song all that much.
Is it on your playlist?
It was on the playlist.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still there, or if it made the final cut of the playlist. There were like 4 of them. But I was actually finishing up the second Banner book, and I didn't really have anything that I was itching to write after, except for the third Banner book, I guess. And I just got this idea of like a human making a deal at the crossroads with a demon to escape her abusive ex. And it was actually that was the very bare bone idea of it, but it went in a completely different direction. I mean, when you first come up with an idea for a book, it very rarely stays the same, at least in my experience. And so that was the first book that I had written in 2 POVs, and that sparked a love of multiple POVs for me. And I was just like so excited to stay in this world. And the research behind it really helped too. I will say that, like, I spent, I think, 2 or 3 months researching demonology.
Wow. Were you into demons before?
Okay, so I think we were all into demons if we were born anywhere.
Not supernatural, Lucifer. You like demons. Like,
if you watched Buffy growing up, if you watched Angel, if you watched Charmed, if you ever watched Dogma, if you ever liked supernatural things, then yes, you have like a vampires too, right? Like you have an interest in demons or like darker mythical characters. And so I was like, I was not raised religiously. I don't have any religious affiliation and never have. And so I was like, I kind of love the idea, like in Buffy when they would do the deep dives, right? I was like, man, I wonder if that's like based on anything because Joss Whedon, ew, but
Yeah.
he did his research enough. And so I was like, I kind of wonder like what he got wrong. Right. And so I went ahead and found a couple of demonology books, which led to a couple more, which led to a couple more, which led to a conversation to a theology professor at Boston University.
That's awesome.
It was very fun. It was a very fun process to like research all of this and use it. So like, an aspect of using this research, I didn't name any of the princes. Those are names of princes of hell, which is, don't come for me when you read Blood on My Name and two of the characters their names are basically exactly the same except for one letter. I didn't come up with that.
You're like, it's just what I was given.
It's the material. Yes, I could have picked someone else, but I didn't. They were the only twins and they had to be twins. I don't know. So yeah, I like basically what sparked Blood on My Name was a song and a thought, but what really sparked it was this deep love of mythology that we were raised on, and through the early 2000s. So
now you talk about how your process to write is slightly slower than other people and you take months to really focus on stuff. Give us a little rundown of your process. Do you have anything that sets the mood? Do you go by like do you do a lot of planning ahead of time? Is it more feelings?
oh man, I have ADHD, but not to the point where someone would be like, hey, you need meds. At least not yet. So my process changes a lot. What I kind of have this running theory, I guess, that if I'm going and I'm doing a certain routine for a while and it's working, it's only going to work for a certain amount of time until I have to change it up. So, I actually wrote Under the Black Banners in my bed. The entire book was written late at night, up, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4, sometimes 5 in the morning in my bed. Dagger of Ash and Gold and Blood on My Name were actually written in a coffee shop while I was waiting for my kids. I had to drive them fairly far, so I stayed at the coffee shop and wrote 2 books at a coffee shop. And then when that situation shifted and we moved the kids closer to home and I didn't have to do that anymore, then I kind of struggled with what I was going to do to kind of like turn my brain into writing mode. I tried writing in bed and that didn't work. I tried writing at my normal desk. That didn't work. And then I tried writing at coffee shops and that didn't work. At least it didn't work in the same way. Obviously, I've gotten 3 books written
Right.
since the change. But honestly, it just kind of shifts. I kind of just kind of go with the flow. Right now, I have desks for every room of my house. I have a lap desk and I have a desk that has like 2 little legs on it for when I'm in bed. And then I have a desk for my treadmill, which is how I've written 2 of the Sin books so far. And so I just kind of go with the flow. And then, I am a slower writer just because I think very deeply about what I'm writing. I have a lot of personal cringe factors that I try to avoid. So I think very long and hard about what I'm writing at the time. And I actually talked to someone a long time ago about their editing process, and they told me that they don't delete anything. That if they write it on the page, it was meant to be there and they don't delete. And
Interesting.
right. And I kind of like took that to heart as, if my brain was like, yeah, that's true. It's not. But my brain was like, yeah,
And
that's
that
the
is a
one.
fact I will die on.
That's the hill for sure. And so that's now kind of the process is I think very deeply and hard about what I'm writing, what the dialogue is, what the situation is, because once those words are on a page, my brain is like, we can't delete these.
So does that mean you don't kill darlings?
I, that's, no, I do. Not very often.
Okay, what is a darling you have killed so far? What is the one that hurt you the most?
I don't want to give spoilers away.
Okay.
But there is a character in Under the Black Banners that I kill off in book 2 that surprised everyone. and I knew it was going to happen, and I knew it had to happen. And I actually got 2 responses, and they were both very it was like one side or the other. There was no in between. Like, you either were happy this character was gone, or you were so sad. And either way, like I had a friend tell me if this character was in the next book, I wasn't going to read it. And then I had a friend tell me, I can't believe you killed this person off. I don't even want to read the last book. And so I was like, well, he was the right one then.
Yeah, I mean, you like literally killed the darling.
I literally killed the darling. I had to. He had to go.
Now, while we're talking on the Black Banner series, why don't you give us a little description on what that series is?
Sure. So Under the Black Banners is actually more of an urban fantasy paranormal where it's second world. And in this world, there are mortals, Vata, which are more like Fae, and then we have Inkobo, which are more like almost like demons in a way. I didn't stray very far. So in the Black Banner series, my main character Issa is was raised as an assassin, and so her job is within the Black Banners, and that's their organizational name. And she was basically placed in a banner house when she was a young child, and as an orphan with other orphans, and they were all raised as assassins. And so in Issa's story in the Under the Black Banner, she's been doing this for a while. She's out on her own, and she is in the middle of killing somebody or unaliving. I'm not sure what put this if it's TikTok language or not.
No, you're all good. It's YouTube. We can get away with so much more as long as you're not sharing music. That's where it gets you.
Oh, okay. So she's killing another mortal, and she runs into an Inkobo in the elevator, and there's a very big separation between Inkobo and Fatan mortals. And so Inkobo kind of stick to their own kind. They stick to their own life. They would be more considered like high society, lots of old money because they live a very long time. And so when she is leaving this hotel and she meets this man, she's disguised and just kind of looks like a woman just hanging out, just ready. And he knows what she is, and he had been hunting her down for a while because he wants to offer her a job. And so they have a very steamy moment, and she tries very hard to kind of pass off like, no, I don't know what you mean. I'm not this, because she can't give up her cover. So anyway, she accepts the job, which is to babysit and bodyguard an Inkobo woman before her wedding day, because she has death threats and all this sort of thing from her own kind. And so, there's a lot of mystery behind, the Inkobo race, and the separation between them and Fata and mortals. And so there's just a lot of mystery that, Issa thought she knew what she needed to know until she actually gets into their world and realizes that there's secret royalty. There's a whole hierarchy within the Yonkobo that she didn't know about, that no one knows about. And then typically Yonkobo cannot reproduce with other races within their community. And so, they just kind of live their life and do their thing until Issa meets someone who is part Yonkobo. And then everything goes out the window.
Interesting.
Shit hits the fan. It's quite insane. And then, so the next book in the series, she's kind of dealing with having to learn like her whole world over again and learn things about her own organization that, it's really about, found family, but questioning everything and never truly feeling like you can trust anyone, which sounds awful, but it's comfy in a way.
Now, I'm sure people are starting to pick up a theme here. You like the paranormal. In fact, your description, I'm sorry, this tagline was probably one of my favorite taglines. You said, it says your name and then it goes, morally gray paranormal romance. Explain all of that.
So as you can tell, I don't personally believe in like a true bad or a true good. I very much operate in this gray area as a person. There's lots of gray areas in our life. And I think a lot of the time when we dive into fantasy, we like to believe that there is true good and there's true evil. But I have always loved a bad boy. Spike from Buffy was the ultimate. And I didn't like him when he turned into a cinnamon roll.
Wait, to completely derail this conversation real fast.
A few moments later.
It follows you.
It does. And I think that's such a, like, we're kind of coming out of that being so well known as, my generation gets older. I'm not, right? And so we have people younger who are discovering these shows because let's face it, like, what's better than Buffy? Like, I don't know. They just don't make shows like that anymore.
No, but they still have the comics going. They still produce the regular comics, which if you like to read and you do like Buffy, I highly recommend checking out the Buffy comics. Yes. They're a lot of fun.
Yes. 100%. And of course, and there were other shows like, Supernatural, which lasted so long. And, so many people are still kind of like I almost feel like Supernatural's hasn't ended long enough for it to like have its big comeback like Buffy has. True. Or Charmed, right? Or even Vampire Diaries. Like if we really want to like go full theme here, Vampire Diaries was also one of those like everyone liked Damon.
Yes. Which I have to say, there's a lot of Damon Stefan going on in book 1 of Prince of Lust.
There is, yes. Yes, we have a big, and I really love when people kind of reference Damon and Stefan when we talk about like Sitri and Ezekiel, because Ezekiel is a Watcher angel, but he technically fell, but not during the fall. And that's mythology that I took and ran with. That is, not something that was based in my brain. Though it is very cool. I love the Watcher tale mostly because people don't know it. It's all very confusing. I love talking about it.
Yes, I was not aware. So when I first saw the name Ezekiel, I was thinking Lucifer and the brother. And I was like, okay, so I knew instantly like angel, that's an angel name. And then I was like trying to figure out how he fit into this. But it was a lot of fun because if you do like shows, like even Supernatural,
yes,
Dean versus Sammy, or Lucifer, or you always have those contrasting, even going off the most recent Good Omens.
Yes.
They're like those are the things that really hit hard. And it's great because you encompass it in such a short turnaround.
Thank you. Yeah, they're probably my most, it's easiest to explain to someone what I mean when I say morally gray, because I can point to Ezekiel and Sitri. I mean, I can point to both of them and be like, this is exactly what I mean by morally gray. They don't have any reason to be quote unquote good, but they really don't have a reason to be bad either. They just
existing.
are, right, and they just do what they want. They don't have like, they don't have super vicious intent like tendencies like Wrath does. But we'll get we get to see him later. But I mean, for the most part, Ezekiel and Sitri are very morally gray, and that's what embodies morally gray for me, is that they don't sway one way or the other. They just kind of are.
All right, so since we're now talking back on the Prince of Sin series, I did have a question. So Blood on My Name seems to be the only one with an audiobook.
Yes.
What was your process of deciding to go that route? Was it fun? Do you think you'll do it with the other books?
Okay, so between us, yes, the other books are already in production. I have a wonderful group of narrators doing them, and I actually got to help direct, and I produced and I edited and I mastered and all the kind of stuff for the audiobook myself, and I absolutely loved it. I did have some help with the finer tuned engineering aspects, but this time I've actually learned how to do that myself. So I'll be producing the series, the next 7 myself, and I'm very excited because the group that I've brought into this, Bastian Allen, who voiced the male characters in Blood on My Name, is returning for his roles, and then we have a wonderful new voice actor named Vaughn, who has done a few other books with some other amazing authors, and I'm really excited to work with him. So they're actually going to be splitting up the sins, and each one has a role, and then we have the incredible Bridget Bordeaux, who's going to be playing all the female voices. And I absolutely adore the duet style where male voices speak male parts, female voices speak female parts. And so I have brought that in. And so, I have assigned sins to our male narrators. And so in Lusts, there are multiple sins that we get introduced to. And because, Lust is the timeline for the series for the most part. And so we get to have interactions with all of the sins in Lust. And so Vaughn and Bastian actually get to interact in that book. And it's just such a fun time. And so, yeah, so we get to hear Citri's voice again and Ezekiel's voice again, and Ipos's voice again, along with a new voice who I'm very excited to work with. And then, of course, the fabulous Bridget Bordeaux.
For people who are watching this, I'm sure they're starting to pick up the idea that a lot of the authors we come have strongholds in TikTok. And I think that goes to speak volumes how great TikTok is as a whole, not only for marketing or promos, but for networking. How do you feel like TikTok has helped you in your writing career?
Well, I met my most best friend, AK Mulford, on TikTok. And I don't think I would have been able to have a career if it hadn't been for that relationship. And many other relationships with readers. A lot of the time with TikTok, you meet someone and it just sort of feels nice and comfy. And then, as you kind of navigate the marketing world in TikTok, you start to build more relationships with readers and, things like podcasters or merch sellers or, signing events and things like that. And so it makes you more accessible to people. to be on social media, and TikTok especially makes it feel like you know these people. And so I really appreciate having TikTok, because I don't know if I necessarily would. I mean, I would have adapted. I'm all about the pivot, but I think it would have been a lot harder to find a reader base, to find a friend, find a group of other author friends to commiserate with, to help build your, a community with. I think, a very common thing that you hear in the author world is that authoring is very lonely, but I very rarely feel alone. There's
That's
always
good.
someone that I can talk to on TikTok.
I think that's a really important point, is find your community. Whether you haven't started writing yet, you want to, you've written 20,000 books, find your community. You don't have to do this alone. And with technology today, with TikTok and social media, there's so many things you can do that will help you on the process. Now, we focused a lot on your amazing creations, which is just perfect because they do deserve a lot of light. But I want to take a second to pop into that master brain of yours, the one that's created these beautiful pieces. What inspired you to even just get into writing?
Well, I'm going to give you the same answer that all authors are going to give you. I've wanted to write my entire life. No, okay. So actually,
since I was a babe,
since I popped out. Okay. I actually think that a lot of the inspiration came from just wanting to tell stories. I remember telling teachers that I wanted to be a writer, and I actually struggled in school quite a bit. I was teased a lot. I didn't really come from the best home life, and I never really saw a career in anything. I wasn't guided towards adulthood in that way. I was, mostly taught to survive, and I'll figure it out when I get there. And so unfortunately, I floundered a lot in my adult years with college, and I switched my major all the time. I have more credits than most doctorate candidates, because I just never knew what I wanted to do, and it always kind of came back to writing. And I had taken quite a few creative writing courses. I actually went to school for journalism for a little bit because my dad had passed away, and I was like, I really just want to do what I want to make him proud. I want to get a college degree. I want to actually make something of myself. And as you can kind of tell, I've had complicated relationships with all my family members. And very quickly, I realized that I didn't have to try to make the spirit of my father proud. I had to make myself proud. And so, I had found my partner, and we built a beautiful life together. And he supports me in absolutely every harebrained idea I have, including, I used to sew clothing, and I did photography for a bit, as most writers do for some reason. I don't know why. It's very hard for us to find a regular 9 to 5 and be happy, I think. And so right. And so I did all those things, and it really it didn't hit until COVID did. I had gone back to school for nursing for who knows how many times. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to be a nurse. I had worked in the medical field for a very long time, and I knew it very well. And I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and try to get into nursing school. And that's a pretty lofty dream for anyone who's tried to get into nursing school. It is very hard. It's very competitive. And I'm actually not a very competitive person. But what I found during my prereqs was that I love to research. It's not that I've always loved school. I just love to research. When it comes to things that I'm interested in, I will buy all the books. I will watch all the YouTube videos. I will do the deep dives because it interests me. And that's actually when I finished my first book, Under the Black Banners. And so Issa carried me through, the pandemic, and that it really wasn't until then. I've always written things. I've always had stories brewing in my head. I've always had internal monologue going on, you know. But it wasn't until I really was in a place. I was about to turn 30, and I said, you know, I guess I'm going to sit down and I'm actually going to write something. And I wrote Under the Black Banners, and a friend of mine was like, "Are you going to publish it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And I did.
Now, when you're researching, does this help you with your art designs for your books? Because I have to say, you have some really good like book designs for your covers.
Thank you. My covers are done by the amazing Cassie Chapman over
Okay.
at Opulent Design. I'm a little biased because I'm the project manager there.
It's okay to be biased. Toot your own
Yeah.
horn.
I know. And I've done all of the internal formatting for my books, including the images in the books. And they're gorgeous. I absolutely adore them. So yeah, my research totally does reflect that. When Cassie and I go over what the cover is going to be, it's very much like, you know, for this latest one, we'll talk about Prince of Pride, for instance. I did a lot of research on like herbs and apothecary items that you would use, or what like purposes for medicine and witchcraft with certain herbs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so a very important concept, or a very important item, is the night blooming flower that that Nestra has cultivated, which is very hard to do. And we see it on the cover. It's very gorgeous. It's blooming and it's very pretty, but they only bloom for 20, like up to 72 hours, I believe.
Okay.
And so you have to, when you see them, you have to pick them, and they have a lot of medicinal properties, and they're just very hard to cultivate. So that's on the cover. And then the other item that's on the cover is a gold, well, it's bronze. It's supposed to be bronze. It's a battered bronze ring, and I use it. There's a lot of mythology that goes into like jewelry. And so this item particularly was mythology that I had gotten from several other places and just kind of put in ring form.
Okay.
But that's on the cover for very specific reasons. And so yeah, so that's kind of where a lot of the elements go. And so I kind of take elements from what I've researched and put them on the cover and in the books and in the formatting images of the books.
That's amazing. Now, going back, let's end on a high. With your Prince of Lust series, we meet a character who doesn't have, like, has to learn basically anything there is to know about human items.
Yes.
If you were to show her books, 3 books, what would be your 3 recommendations that she would have to read?
Okay. It would be so we're talking about Bria, who's a Reaper, and she materializes with very basic information about what makes humanity a thing. So in like cultural aspects and stuff like that. So thinking of Bria, and in that aspect, I would hand her Hunting Adeline, not Haunting. I'd give her a rundown, right? Like I would be like, hey, so this, you know, this is what happened in book 1, but I really enjoyed book 2, and I really feel like that book is just really gorgeous, by H.D. Carlton. And then I would probably just, if I could get it in like an omnibus, it would be Trisha Wolfe's Lovely Bad, Lovely Violent, and then the third book, which is soon to come. Things that the Trisha Wolfe, that series really has my heart right now, because Trisha Wolfe does her research as well, and you can see that and you can feel that, and she masters this element of, you know, she knows a lot, but she's not info dumping it on you. She's very much weaving it through so that you can understand that. And I just really respect that. And I try very hard to implement that in my own writing, but I know that sometimes that doesn't always happen, but she really has mastered that. So it would be those 2 books for sure. And I guess the third would be Well, let's see. I'd give her blood on my name. You know what? I'd give her blood on my name.
I love it. Now, we were talking before we started recording that you're actually going to be heading somewhere. Do you want to shout that out so people might be able to find you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am going to my first signing event in West Virginia.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I get to go to Sinful signings in West Virginia, in Roanoke, West Virginia. It is the 16th and the 17th, and there's it's Seven Deadly Sins themed, which is like perfect for me. I'm taking I'm taking all of my books, but I am bringing a lot. I don't know if anyone can even see this, but there's a huge stack of Greed right behind me. And so I'm taking mostly my Seven Deadly Sins series. There's going to be a ball on Saturday night, and I get to dress up as Sloth, and I'm very excited because I get to dress up as my version of Sloth, which is very sexy rocker, dark, really dark, dramatic eyes, bright red lipstick. I'm very excited.
Did you make the outfit?
I bought pieces of it. This is actually
that's okay. That's still making it in a way. You're still putting it together.
Right. There's blue sexy lingerie things, leather pants, a crown. There's little elements in there that I'm like, yeah, Sloth would love this.
So if you guys are in the nearby area or looking for something to do the weekend, you said the 17th, the 18th, that weekend?
It is the weekend of the 16th and 17th.
Okay,
and
16th and 17th.
I do believe there is a sale on tickets now if you go to their website.
Sweet. So yeah, I'll put the link in our description below. So if people want to buy tickets, they can. We'll also be able to put all of the links for K Elle Morrison there. So you guys will be able to find her new books. They're also on Kindle Unlimited. So please go check them out. Join us in this morally gray paranormal romance group that we got going on right now. Team Spike forever.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking time to sit down with us today. You're phenomenal, and it has been great having this chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Well, that is another interview wrapped up in a nice little dark bow. For those who love the supernatural, the paranormal, let me know in the comments below. What was your introduction? Are you a Buffy person? Was it Spike or Angel, Damon or Stefan, Lucifer, Sammy or Dean? Oh my gosh, the list goes on. Just let me know in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. Check out all the links that we'll have for K Elle Morrison, including the new book coming out, the event forward. And also, you guys, most importantly, just keep slinging, you ink slingers. Until next time, bye.